Hi tutora and classmates, my name is Daniel and this is my video about present the research project entitled Enhancing Reading Comprehension in B1 level IFL students through explicit vocabulary instruction and metacognitive reading strategies in virtual English classes. Okay, let's go. The slide datasheet and type of paper is a research project, and for research line, the research line of this methodological purpose is located mainly in the field of the didactics of foreign language and pedagogical innovation and virtual learning environments, with an emphasis of strengthening reading comprehension in students of English as a foreign language. And for this part, an author, Daniel David Moreno Ortiz, and my classmates of research project, Eliandro and Andrea. Advisor, my teacher, Norma Suleiman Garcia Fonseca, and keywords principles: reading comprehension, vocabulary instruction, metacognitive strategies, IELTS virtual learning. Yeah. Okay. The reading comprehension is one of the most important skills in English language learning because it allows students to access information. Yeah, it's very important for in this part strengthen vocabulary and develop critical thinking. However, many B1 level students still experience difficulties understanding English text, especially in virtual learning contexts where learners must be more autonomous and strategies. For this reason, our study proposed the integration of explicit vocabulary instruction and metacognitive reading strategies to support students' comprehension processes, and the reading comprehension continues to represent a significant challenge for B1 and level learning, particularly in virtual learning environments where students are required to demonstrate greater autonomy and strategic learning skills. And for me, it's very important in this part. For example, in many cases, learners depend excessively of literal translation strategies instead of applying reading strategies that support global comprehension and critical interpretation of text, according to Nation 2001 and grade 2009. Yeah, and therefore this research seeks to analyze how the integration of explicit vocabulary instruction and metacognitive reading strategies in virtual English classes can contribute to improving reading comprehension among B1 level IELTS learners. The study is significant because it proposes an evidence-based pedagogical approach that may support students is becoming more strategic, autonomous, and confident readers, while also contributing to the improvement of teaching practices and in virtual environment learning environment. According to Oxford's 2017 and called 1984. For this part and general objectives, for example, to analyze the impact of explicit vocabulary instruction and metacognitive reading strategies of the development of reading comprehension in B1 level IFL students participating in virtual English classes is very important for this research project. Yeah, and specific objectives. For example, the first one, to identify the main reading comprehension difficulties experiences by B1 level IFL students in virtual English classes. And the second, to implement explicit vocabulary instruction activities and metacognitive reading strategies during virtual reading tasks. And to analyze how metacognitive strategies such as prediction, monitoring, questioning, and summarizing influence students' reading comprehension processes. Yeah? And for this part, and the slide literature review, we have, according to Anderson, 2002 and Gray, successful readers actively use prediction, monitoring, questioning, and summarizing while reading, and these strategies help students regulate comprehension, improve inferencing skills, and become more autonomous readers in virtual learning environments. For this part, metacognitive strategy supports strategic reading. Yeah, and on the other part, vocabulary knowledge improves reading comprehension, and coordination 2001 explains that learners needs to understand a large number of words to interpret text successfully, explicit vocabulary, instruction, students, word recognition. Yeah. Final, virtual learning environments require autonomous reading skills. And for example, recent studies highlight that online English learning demands greater learning autonomy and strategic awareness. And for details, research by El Madani et al. 2024 demonstrated that metacognitive awareness possibly influences reading proficiency. Yeah. Another, for example, methodology. For this case, methodology, and we have the qualitative approach. Yeah. For example, the research follow a qualitative approach focused in this moment on understanding students' reading comprehension processes through explicit vocabulary instruction and metacognitive strategies in virtual English learning environments. And the second, action research design. The study adopts an action research methodology. Yeah. The study adopts an action research methodology that allows diagnosis, intervention, observation, and reflection. And for this part is very important. And research phases and the three aspects. The study is organized into diagnostic, implementation, analysis, interpretation, and dissemination phases. For final, comparative analysis, pre-reading and post-reading activities were compared to identify changes in students' comprehension performance. The analysis focused on vocabulary recognition, inferencing. For the main idea, identification and metacognitive awareness development. Yeah, for this part. For this case, results and 4 aspects. And the first, reading comprehension improvements, and the final shows positive changes in students' reading comprehension, and for the case, the finding revealed improvements in students' ability to identify main ideas, infer meaning from context, and understanding vocabulary during virtual reading activities. And for this case, vocabulary recognition, is very important. Students progressively reduce their dependence on translation tools and translation, and demonstrated greater ability to recognize vocabulary through contextual guessing and explicit vocabulary intrusion. For the three aspects, metacognitive awareness, and their results showed students increasingly apply strategies such as prediction, monitoring, questioning, and summarizing, which strengthened their autonomy and confidence while reading. And final, the participation and autonomy is very important. Observation, records, and reflection journals indicate greater students' participation, active engagement, and strategic behavior during virtual English and reading tasks after the intervention. For discussion, we have the four aspects: interpretation of findings, connection with theory, educational contribution, and new insights. And for these parts, the findings demonstrate that explicit vocabulary instruction and metacognitive reading strategies positively influenced and students' reading comprehension in virtual English classes. And for this part is very important. And for our research project, and the second aspect, connection with theory, and for example, the results support theories of metacognitive learning, socio-constructivism, and according for Lev Vygotsky or David Ausubel, and experiential learning, emphasizing the importance of strategic and reflective reading practices. Yeah, for this case, an educational contribution. Yeah, for this part, the studies provides evidence-based pedagogical strategies that may improve reading comprehension, instruction, and learning autonomy in virtual learning environments. And in this part, the students and English class for the participate and autonomy for activities. By new insights, students became more autonomous, confident, and strategic readers by reducing dependence on translation or traduction tools and applying prediction, monitoring, and contextual inferencing strategies. And for this part, it's very important recognize these four aspects mentioned. For these parts and conclusion, and for our conclusion, we have the number one, and reading comprehension development. Yeah, and the beginning, the reading comprehension development. The studies demonstrate that explicit vocabulary instruction and metacognitive reading strategies improve and students' ability to identify main ideas, infer meaning, and understand text. This part is very important, and for this study contributes practical pedagogical strategies for English teachers working in online environments. For this case, and the second aspect, for strategic and autonomous readers, and we have students and developed reader autonomy and confidence by applying prediction and monitoring, summarizing, and contextual guessing during virtual English